The Kentucky FACE program shares investigative findings with employers and employees to help prevent future instances of serious injury or death. This incident involved the owner of a tow truck company who was responding to a late-night call for assistance. The company was a relatively small operation, operating 3 tow trucks with 3 employees. The towing company had been contacted just around 12 a.m. on July 7, 2012 to retrieve a broken-down SUV in a nearby state and to return it to its owner in Kentucky. What was supposed to be a routine work call on an early midsummer morning would soon turn into tragedy. The tow truck driver, along with his 2 sons, got into the rollback wrecker and began the 225-mile route to the SUV. This is a trip that would take them approximately 3.5 hours to complete. Upon reaching their destination, the stranded SUV was loaded onto the rollback using 3 anchoring points. The vehicle warning lights were engaged, and the father and his 2 sons began their journey back north towards home, which would take them an additional 3.5 hours. It was approximately 3:50 a.m. and about 90 miles from their destination when the driver told his sons that the load felt strange. He pulled his wrecker to the right side of the interstate, engaged the warning lights, and exited the cab. He did not place hazard signs or warning flags on the roadway adjacent to the rollback. He also was not wearing a reflective vest. He approached the left rear of the rollback and began to tighten the cables that secured the load. It was dark, the pavement was dry, and there was no precipitation. As the tow truck driver was tightening his load, a box truck driven by a 24-year-old man approached their location. The box truck was a 2008 white single-cab truck that weighed 12,500 pounds. The box truck had received a ticket for speeding only a few hours before. As it approached the tow truck, the box truck veered into the right emergency lane, striking the tow truck driver. The force of the impact was so great that it sent the box truck careening back onto the interstate, where it flipped onto its side before coming to a rest some 38 yards away. The tow truck was forced into the right side guardrail. The operator of the tow truck stood no chance against the force of the box truck. He was killed instantly, suffering massive head and chest injuries. The impact sent his body flying through the air where it came to rest on the left shoulder of the highway. The right front tire of the box truck was ripped off of the vehicle upon impact. Following the incident, the driver of the box truck, still conscious, climbed through the cargo window and exited through the rear of the truck. Moments after the impact, the tow truck driver's 18-year-old son looked out of the vehicle to see if his father was okay. Stunned by seeing his father's body on the left shoulder, he called 911 on his cell phone. He was in such shock, however, that he was unable to tell the 911 operator where he was. Emergency first responders were notified of the incident at approximately 3:55 a.m. and were on the scene at 4:05 a.m. They contacted the county coroner, who arrived and declared that the tow truck driver was dead at the scene. First responders detected alcohol in the box truck driver's breath, indicating that he was under the influence of alcohol. They tried to administer a field sobriety test, however he denied it, claiming he could not comply due to having been in the accident. He was later transported to a hospital where he refused to supply a blood test as well. After having a warrant for a blood test 3 hours after the incident, he was found to have a blood alcohol level of .115. He was charged with homicide, wanton endangerment, and several commercial vehicle violations. While the 2 sons were fortunate enough to not have been injured, they witnessed the tragic event and were forever left without a father. The tow truck company closed its doors following the tragic incident, leaving the 3 remaining employees jobless. This accident was the product of an intricate equation where any one factor being changed may have prevented this man's death. Considering the fact that the man's life could have been spared had the box truck driver not been drinking, is there anything else that could have prevented this terrible tragedy? Recommendation number 1. Maximum carrying capacity of a tow truck should not be exceeded, as doing so may cause the securement sights to become stretched. This could have contributed to the load feeling strange, as the driver had mentioned. Recommendation number 2. Towing operators should receive proper safety and operational training annually. It is unknown what training the tow truck operator had. While safety regulations exist, there are no laws requiring that tow truck drivers partake in any type of formal safety training. Safety recommendation number 3. 4 points of securement should be used when transporting a load. The load only had 3 points of securement. This would increase the likelihood that the load would shift back and forth during transport, making it feel unstable or strange, as the tow truck driver had mentioned. Recommendation number 4. Portable warning cones should be used whenever outside of the vehicle to alert approaching motorists. Cones with flashers or reflective stripes should be used at nighttime so the drivers can clearly see them. These cones should be placed at a position that gives drivers an advanced warning of the stopped vehicle. Kentucky should consider a law requiring that portable warning cones be deployed as a safety precaution anytime that an emergency vehicle is stopped on the side of the road. Other states have already done this. A simple warning device such as this may have prevented this tragedy. Recommendation number 5. Federal law states that appropriate high-visibility vests should be worn by persons working along highways and streets. The Federal Highway Administration says that high-visibility vests should be replaced when they become faded, torn, dirty, soiled, or defaced, or if they are no longer visible at 1,000 feet, day or night. In addition to a vest usage policy, additional enforcement actions should be considered. An unenforced safety vest policy has the potential to expose workers to a greater likelihood of injury. A strict policy of if your feet are on the street, then your vest is on your chest should be adhered to. Recommendation number 6. There should be increased public awareness of the move over law in Kentucky. This law requires motorists to move over or to slow down whenever they are approaching an emergency vehicle with its lights flashing. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet distributed approximately 100 of these signs across the state in 2005. Increased public awareness in the future may further help prevent tragedies such as this from happening